From the Toronto Star, I'm Raju Mudhar, and this matters. The NBA is back. Settled into their Disneyland bubble, the league kicked off on Thursday night with a pretty thrilling doubleheader that honestly felt like the NBA scriptwriters were working overtime. Utah Jazz center Rudy Gobert, the player whose positive COVID-19 test effectively shut down the league in March, scored the first and last points for his team in a win.
Gobert, nice spin, and the bucket and the foul. Rudy Gobert gets things started for Utah.
As well, in a battle for LA, LeBron James Lakers dueled Kawhi Leonard's Clippers in a game that we hope portends an epic Western Conference final.
LeBron James gives the Lakers the lead.
More importantly, Toronto's reigning world champion Raptors.
There's a new NBA champion, and it's a team from Toronto, Canada. We, the North, are now we, the champions. The Raptors, the 2019 NBA champs.
Start on their path toward another championship by playing LeBron and his Lakers on Saturday night. For Toronto basketball fans, we have a treat. Today we are joined by Doug Smith, who is the Dean of Toronto Raptors beat writers, covering this team from day one. He is here to discuss the NBA's return and the Raptors' chances of repeating, with a special guest appearance from his neighbor's lawnmower. Doug, thank you so much for being with us.
Roger, glad to be here, man. Glad to be somewhere.
Doug, you know I'm going to ask you everything about the Raptors, but I need to start a little more broadly than this. Rudy Gobert of the Utah Jazz's positive test, and then his COVIDiot actions right afterward, basically is what was the catalyst for the NBA shutting down, which then was what North America used to start to take this really seriously. Everything shut down after that. Now the NBA is back, taking some incredible precautions. Do you think that this says or symbolizes anything?
You know, I've always thought that the NBA has been the leader in North American professional pro sports in societal issues. And this is obviously a huge one. They were aware of COVID-19 and the coronavirus starting like in January through their league contacts in China and had been anticipating something coming up. And when it did, they took decisive, quick action. And I think they were absolutely the leaders in a lot of North American society going, oh, wait a sec. Oh, this is pretty real. Let's deal with it.
What do you think about the return format with the 8 seeding games and the bubble? Right now, the testing looks good, but we're seeing what is happening with baseball, and hopefully that won't happen here. What do you think about the precautions they're taking now and moving forward?
Oh, I think obviously everybody's walking a tightrope, but I do think the bubble idea is the only way that they have a chance of success, mostly because you have more control that way. You can control who gets in, who gets tested, who gets to visit it, who gets to live in it, and how they live in it. I think the NBA probably has too many teams. I would have preferred the top 20 teams to go into kind of a World Cup, 5 groups of 4 kind of thing. But 22 is a little bit too many, but I do think the control was the significant part in getting everybody in the same place.
Okay, fingers crossed this works. I am super hyped for our World Championship Raptors. We are going to go through as many of the stories as I can with you, but let's just start with 2 big things or smaller things. Marc Gasol and Kyle Lowry arrived looking in incredible shape. Did this break help this team?
It helped them in the respect that they were never healthy, and now they are. They never, from November till the middle of March, didn't have their top 8 guys for any length of time together. Now they do. I think Gasol losing all that weight is a double-edged sword. I do think he can probably do more for longer each game, but I do think you need a little bit of bulk if you're going to see the Lopez's and the Embiids of the NBA. Whether that's a factor, I honestly don't know. I'm not sure that the transformation of Gasol is as big a deal as some people do. Lowry's been in great shape, and I think him being motivated and in fine fettle and fine health makes him tougher. It's like the year he went off to Vegas in the summer and did paleo and whatever he did, came back with a brand new body. I think we're going to see him have a renewed enthusiasm, and that's going to be a big deal because he's their best player and has the biggest leadership component on the team.
I actually think this is also one of those things that, as much as I love all of our guys, I think we go as far as he takes us. And in the playoffs, we've seen him break down in the past. I think that is in particular a good sign, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Having, 3.5 months or 4 months between games is not going to be a bad thing because it's not like you forgot how to play. And it's not like you forgot how to play hard. but now he can play hard and free. Now, last year, his thumb was messed up from the middle of the Philly series through the end of the finals. So there are issues that plagued him in the past that won't be there now. And you know Kyle as well as I do. He's got that chip on his shoulder. It's like a boulder. This is the perfect opportunity to say, hey, I'm ready to go full bore, full tilt right from the start. Watch me go.
Can't wait. I cannot wait. In my best, what about Scarves imitation?
But what about scarves?
OG, I'm telling you, if you say it,
But what about scarves?
you put me in fashion, then I'm done.
But what about scarves?
I guess I'm done.
But what about scarves?
I guess I'm done.
But what about scarves?
What about OG's handles? Did he get some during the break?
He did if you watch the scrimmage games, but they were scrimmage games. He does look a little bit more decisive and a little bit more tight with the ball, which you need him to be. He was far too passive too often. He would go stand in the corner and make the odd three, and that's not a bad thing. But if he can start dribbling past guys and initiate offense and kick the ball to get the second pass, to get the open look for Lowry, then they're way better. I think he can do it, but we've never seen him do it in even the cauldron of 8 seeding games, let alone the playoffs.
What did you think about those scrimmages this week, and what did you see?
I saw a quicker amount of familiarity than I thought I would. They were off for a long time, but they seemed to get it back. They didn't get it back for 48 minutes a night, and they didn't really even get it back for 36 a night. But the 18 or 24 were good enough for me, and I think that's what the 8 games will be, is to figure out how those top 8, 9 guys are used to playing with each other and reading each other and reading the game. And because they're a veteran team that's been together, I don't think it's going to be a hard thing to get them back up to full-time, full intensity, full chemistry on the court.
A great point. The Raptors have done an amazing job of finding talent, unearthing gems, Terrence Davis, Rondé Hollis-Jefferson. But in this sprint of a season, do you still see Nick Nurse working with a shortened bench of 8 or 9 guys? Or is this not the perfect situation where you're going to probably have to go 11 deep at least?
Probably going to have to early. I think he's going to play the 8 guys, the 5 starters, Ibaka, Powell, and Davis. I think the benefit of the other guys who have developed into players is that they have different looks in that 9, 10, 11 guy. You could go to a Boucher or a Hollis Jefferson. You go to a Matt Thomas or a Hollis Jefferson. You got a lot of different looks, and every series kind of presents different opportunities and different needs. And I think that's where the Raptors' depth helps. I do think they'll be as good as their top 8 guys will let them be. And that's going to go for the rest of the NBA as well. But those 9, 10, 11 guys who might play, one might play in 1 series, one might not play for 2 series, but will be needed in the 3rd. Having those guys as good players is, I think, what sets this group apart. I really do.
I liked what I saw from Matt Thomas.
He's a great shooter. He's dribbling the ball a little bit better, but he will be a great 9th, 10th, 11th guy for the odd time you need him. And Pat McCaw's hurt, so maybe you'll need Thomas as 9 instead of 11.
I feel remiss in not asking about Pascal. He's our man. And do you expect, I guess, more consistency or another leap from him?
You put up the same kind of numbers, I think he's prone to kicking the ball over the gym a little bit, but I don't think that'll be a problem in the playoffs. I think he'll calm down a little bit. I think he's fully able to take the load that's going to be put upon him because everything they've ever asked him to do, he's done. And he doesn't seem to get fazed by the moment or the responsibility. It helps that he's got guys like Lowry, Gasol, and Ibaka to do some of that heavy lifting every now and in parts of games. But I do think he's going to be the guy in the 4th quarter who is this year's Kawhi. Throw the ball to him, let him do something. Maybe it's make a pass, I don't know. But let him decide the fate of key possessions.
I think the Raptors are locked in. I think they have an incredible chance to repeat. I think the X factors really are chemistry and the championship experience from last year. Particularly in this sort of cauldron and sprint, how important are those things?
Oh, absolutely. I think that's the reason I think they'll win the East, is that they've done it before. And they know what it takes. And they know how to not be worried about bad losses or not to be too excited about big wins. There's a business-like aspect to them that I think is important. And the fact they went through those 24 games last year, basically the same group. And yes, Kawhi and Danny Green aren't there, and that's the big deal. But guys learned an awful lot about themselves and about NBA playoff basketball at its hardest last year, and they didn't forget. And I think that's the thing that will separate them from even the Milwaukees of the league this year, especially in the East.
Oh, we're going to get to Milwaukee very soon.
Yeah. For one of the best teams ever, they're getting some short shrift these days.
They are. No. Oh, we can talk about the NBA and the idea of respect, but that's an entire different conversation. I want to talk about the NBA as a whole. I'm super excited for this return, but it's one of these things. It's like, yay, they're back. Let's get ready for some really sloppy basketball, right?
There will be moments of ugliness this weekend. There will be, they'll be summer league-ish. There'll be, the guys will be throwing the ball in the first row or bouncing them off each other's head. But these are also, the best basketball players on earth. And it's not going to take them a long time to remember what they did and how they did it. I think having 8 games in 2 weeks is probably the right number so that when the playoffs hit, the really good teams are really going. I think the playoffs will be like they always have been. There will be some dog series of 1 versus 8, 2 versus 7 that are very one-sided. But the really good teams are going to be really good when the postseason starts. These 8 games are their exhibition season, but they'll be played at a higher level than they are in October, which is unwatchable.
Obviously, we're also taking all of these medical precautions because of this virus. But I think in this sprint, potentially games every other day, injuries, how big of a factor do you think they're going to be?
Normally, I would say they would be huge because it's been such a long time. You got to be able to hit the ground going 100 miles an hour right away. But I don't think any of the good teams are going to go 100 miles an hour right away. I think they're going to take these 8 games to build up. Some guys are going to get hurt. Someone will pop an ankle or pull a hamstring. That just happens in the course of a regular playoffs, even after 82 regular season games. The soft touch, soft muscle, soft tissue injuries, they're a thing. By the time the playoffs hit, I don't think they'll be as big a thing as most people think. There will be some that pop up, but there are some that pop up in normal years.
Absolutely. I think the Raptors actually probably are as prepared as anybody just because of how many men they lost during the regular season, right?
They sure know how to do it. They were 46-18 with playing with a bunch of guys. Everybody had to do something new every other week, it seemed, and they figured out how to do it. And I think that's a huge benefit to them. They have the recent experience of being able to survive no Kyle Lowry, no Serge Ibaka. Marc Gasol's played 1 game since January, really. That's a big bonus for them.
Let's talk about the contenders. The Raptors kick off against the Los Angeles Lakers. The idea of a rested LeBron scares the heck out of me. Anthony Davis, obviously, is a great addition to that team. Are they the favorites?
I think so. I think they're better than the Clippers. I think LeBron is, obviously the 1-1A with Giannis is the best player in the game, and 1-1A with Michael is the best player ever. So he's the guy. I think they're going to miss Rajon Rondo. I think not having Avery Bradley is a bit of an issue for them. But I still think they're the best team in the Western Conference. And in a 7-game series, I think they get the Clippers, but I think that has a chance to be epic if it happens.
Oh my God, that is absolutely the dream matchup if we're talking about the West. I think we've all seen Kawhi's power, and let's talk about the Clippers before that matchup.
I'm here with Fun Guy. Fun Guy, what's up, baby?
What it do, baby?
Yeah, you already know.
I think, their lineup is really interesting, but of course, one, they're dealing with some COVID suspensions off the top, and I'm super curious, have you been to Magic City, and can you vouch for the wings there? What do you think about the Clippers' chances?
I've never been to Magic City, and I think the Clippers' chances are diminished for 2 reasons. Montrezl Harrell's not there yet, and we don't know what he'll be like when he gets there. He's dealing with a family issue that's very serious, and we don't know if he's going to arrive or how he'll be when he gets there. I think not having Lou Williams for 2 games is no big deal because they'll have him for 6 or 5 or 6 of the 8. But here's the thing. The Clippers are the Clippers. And I know that they're not the Clippers of Donald Sterling, and they're not the Clippers of Chris Paul, and they're not Lob City. Stuff always happens with the Clippers. It always does. And I think it goes back when they screwed over Buffalo. Something always happens to the Clippers. And I don't think they can be counted on to get through something like this without Clipperism happening to them.
I'm a big believer in sports curses. You absolutely have me with that answer. That sounds great to me.
Clippers going to Clipper.
That is perfect. Now, you also brought up Milwaukee, and this is the team that's had the best overall record for the entire season. They have a great coach. They have a great defensive scheme. They've got a great supporting cast, and they have Giannis. Serge Ibaka says the Raps have the bodies to match up well, but the Bucks got to have revenge and redemption from last year on their minds, right?
Absolutely. And the Bucks are really good. Like, they were going to win 74 games, 75 games. They were that good. And margin of victory was off the charts. And Giannis has put up numbers that we never saw before. And Lopez has become Reggie Miller. But I think the thing with the Bucks, and I thought this from day one, their adaptability in a 7-game series to having different things thrown at them is in question. They do what they do, and they do it extraordinarily well. But if you take part of that away, I'm not sure they have the ability to change on the fly and thrive. And maybe they do, but they haven't shown me in the year last year or this season that they have that ability. And they're great. And Giannis is great. And Chris Middleton's a very good player. I think they're going to really miss Malcolm Brogdon's leadership when it comes down to it in the postseason. And I don't know that they can change themselves enough in a 7-game series to survive when the other team takes away what they do best. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they go 16-3 and win a title with a breeze, but I don't think so.
I saw the Ringer call Nick Nurse the Bill Belichick of NBA coaches. I think Mike Budenholzer is an incredibly defensive coach too. And in that particular series, is that the key? Who can sort of defensively one-up the other team and take away their best player?
I think it's a huge key for the Raptors, trying to limit Giannis if you can. I don't know who the best player on the Raptors is. So I'm not sure how a team would game plan for the Raptors knowing they have about 3 best players. I think so that's maybe to Toronto's advantage. Nick Nurse says Bill Belichick is probably true strategically, but they could not be more different personally, of course, because Nick is fun and a good guy and not at all a cheater and a scallywag. But I do think that Nick has the ability to take away Milwaukee's best player far better than Budenholzer has to take away Toronto's best player in a 7-game series. I just said scallywag, by the way, and I hope people react to that.
Hey, listen, you're talking to me. I saw your video with Laura Armstrong. I know exactly what a wee me is. I know what the me's are. I got exactly what you're talking about. So, and yes, he is also a cheater and a scallywag. I completely agree with you. But let's say my dreams come true. The Raps make it from the East. Who would you prefer to see? The Raps taking on LeBron and the Lakers, or the poetry of the Raps versus Kawhi Clippers?
As a reporter, the Clippers is a better story because Doc's a better quote, but Kawhi's so bad it doesn't really matter. I think for the basketball, I think the Raptors, I think they would love to play the Lakers and LeBron.
The Raptors running into a LeBrontosaurus.
Because as much as Kawhi did for them last year, LeBron did to them for like 3 years. And having a chance to get at him, even when he's not in Cleveland, I think is too juicy for them to pass up.
I'm super stoked about all of these things, and particularly our team, but I'm also looking forward to watching a ton of other basketball. You know, I think this is going to be a dogfight, and I'm curious about what the other things you are looking forward to. I think a healthy Portland and their front court is very dangerous. I want to see Ben Simmons at power forward. Boston, I think, is like a Swiss Army knife team, but I don't think they have it all together, and I hope that they don't get it together. What do you think? What are you looking forward to? What do you want to see?
I can't wait to see Hall of Famer to be Bull play in Denver when they play like 7-footers at the same time kind of thing. I think Denver's a fun team to watch, and I think Jamal Murray's really good, and I think Jokic is hilarious. And I think I would love to see them without the pressure of having to go into a hostile arena and win the playoffs. I think they might be really good. I want to see how Miami plays when they talk about the Heat culture and how they got to get tough and they grind every game out. I think they're a sleeper in the East. I don't know how their kids do, Nunn and Duncan Robinson. I don't know how they handle the playoffs. I would love to see Clippers-Lakers as a 7-game series. I really would. I would love to see it living at LA Live and covering it all in one arena, but I'll sit at home and watch it on TV and be just as happy.
What are your thoughts on the winner of this season having an asterisk?
I wrote should have an exclamation point as opposed to an asterisk because this is crazy hard. This is unknown. It's unfamiliar. If you go to October 13th, there's a chance the team will have been on a 103-day road trip. How they handle it mentally near the end is going to be fascinating to me to watch. You can't live with the same guys for 103. You're going to hate each other. And it's the teams that don't hate each other that are going to win. And that's why I don't count Philly in at all. Philly will have an insurrection by this time next week, perhaps. But living in such close quarters with no family, no friends, you can't get away. If you're playing at home and you get a day off, you can go to your apartment and get away from the world. You live in Orlando in the bubble and you get a day off, you got to go stay in a hotel room next to your buddy, and you can't get away from them. So I think the mental toughness of teams is going to be a huge factor once we get into the middle of September and through the 1st October.
Doug, this has been amazing for us. Is there anything that I didn't ask that you think that we should know?
No, I think we pretty much got the whole thing covered. Let's basketball. Let's go see some basketball.
No, let's basketball is absolutely the thing to say, sir.
There you go.
And I'm super excited for this season. I'm so glad that you could join us. Thank you so very, very much for your time.
All right, we'll get back when we set up the NBA Finals.
Sounds good to me. Doug Smith is the Raptors beat reporter for the Toronto Star. That's it for today. Thanks so much for joining us. This Matters is hosted and produced by me, Raju Mudhar, Adrian Chung, and Saba Etisaz. Produced and mixed by Sean Pattenden, and our director of programming is JP Fozo. Our show theme music is by So Called, and our episode music is by Mike DeAngelis. We want to hear what stories matter to you. Please send us comments, questions, or ideas to thismatters@thestar.ca. Please consider supporting the journalism the Toronto Star newsroom does at thestar.com. And don't forget to subscribe to This Matters on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. Let's talk soon.